This is the Petersburg Eastern Front Visitor Center. This one's entitled Off Duty. A little vignette into soldier life. This is Battery 5, just outside of the Visitor Center. On the ground before you, the first major attacks against Petersburg occurred. This bloodletting marked the beginning of 9½ months of siege warfare. So, there's Lee. Grant stole the march on him, came down around Petersburg, and attacked. Grant surprises Lee by attacking Petersburg. Here's Battery 5 of the Dimmock line. Dimmock being the name of the Confederate who set up these defensive positions around Petersburg in 1862. It wouldn't be needed until 3 years later. This is Battery 8 of the Dimmock line. On June 15, 1864, after seizing Battery 5, Union troops swept southward along the Dimmock line. Men of the 1st and 22nd U.S. Colored Troops captured Battery 8, overcoming heavy resistance. By the morning of June 16th, the 1½ miles of Confederate works between Batteries 3 and 11 were in Union hands. Now here's something interesting. You don't see this very often. Here's a photograph of Battery 8 with a "You are here exactly where I'm standing." I don't think I've ever quite seen that in a photograph. This shows Battery 8 5 days after its capture by Federals. There's your classic Virginia scene. A cannon, some dogwoods, and everything blossoming green. A lot of pollen out here, by the way. Infantry earthworks. Recreated here are samples of some of the infantry earthworks that ringed Petersburg. Works that one man said made the landscape resemble an immense prairie dog village. As the siege wore on, assaults against entrenched positions became rare. Attacking entrenchments has been tried so often with such fearful losses that even the stupidest private now knows that if he cannot succeed and the natural consequences follows, will not try it. The very sight of a bank of earth brings them to a dead halt. That was written in June 1864. A splendid charge. Here at Petersburg on June 15, 1864, African-American troops recorded their first major success of the war in Virginia. After the capture of Battery 5, some of the 3,500 black troops swept southward, routing Confederates before them. At dusk, they charged Battery 9 and swarmed over the works. During 2 hours of fighting on the Dimmock line that evening, U.S. colored troops, official designation, captured dozens of Confederates and 6 cannon. Here it is, home away from home, while on campaign. Soldiers made these, and as you can see, they can house 2 soldiers comfortably, or semi-comfortably. There's the fireplace. These things burn down quite a lot, I understand. Oh, and there's the chair right there, or stool. Beats a tent during the winter. How would you like to charge these? No, thank you. This is Fort Stedman. By March 1865, 1865, Confederate General Robert E. Lee had suffered through nearly 9 months of fighting, had repulsed 7 Union offensive, and had his men spread along a 37-mile-long front. Knowing that it was only a matter of time before his lines would break, he took a desperate gamble and launched his only offensive of the siege. March 25, 1865, Lee launches a pre-dawn surprise assault on Union Fort Stedman, hoping to break the Union grip on Petersburg. Within 4 hours, Lee's gamble has failed completely. Fort Stedman. The final effort.
Fresh Union infantry soon arrived. Around 8 o'clock, I saw the Federals coming. The whole field was moving. The columns must have been 20 deep. With our Whitworth guns, we began to pick off a few prominent individuals, but we could not kill the whole army. And presently we had to retreat to the captured works, which we did, contesting every foot of ground. The blue columns followed. Then, with hundreds of Confederates packed in and around Fort Stedman, the Federals attacked. This painting shows the scene around Fort Stedman at the moment of the Union counterattack. The Confederates
Never again Robert E. Lee launched a major offensive. A week later, Petersburg would fall. Fort Stedman. In the last grand defensive movement of Lee's Army of Northern Virginia, Fort Stedman, with adjacent works, was captured at 4:30 a.m. March 25, 1865, by a well-selected body of Confederates under the command of General John B. Gordon. An advance was made with great determination over the broken Union lines, then through the ravine and up the rising ground to the eastward, for the purpose of cutting the U.S. military railroad and thus make successful the Confederate plan of severing the Army of the Potomac and destroying its base of supplies at City Point. This movement was checked, and the direct assault and the recapture of these embattlements was made by the 3rd Division, 9th Corps, Army of the Potomac, in whose memory this tablet is erected by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Here's the interior of Fort Stedman. A lot of rumply, grassy knolls here. And it's another one of those sites where we have a photograph that indicates right where we were standing. The photograph above was taken from where you are standing. Siege of Petersburg, Grant's 3rd offensive. Standing here behind Union lines in July 1864, you would have seen the result of Union General Ulysses S. Grant's attempt to break the Confederate hold on Petersburg. Grant's plan was to lure Confederate General Robert E. Lee's forces to Richmond and then strike at Petersburg's weakened defenses. Grant's plan worked, and only 18,000 Confederate soldiers were in Petersburg when the crater exploded. Here it is, the crater.
One of the first Union officers to reach the crater related the scene. Little did our men anticipate what they would see upon arriving there. An enormous hole in the ground filled with dust, great blocks of clay, guns, broken carriages, projecting timbers, and men buried in various ways, some up to their necks, others to their waists, and some with only their feet and legs protruding from the earth. Federal troops jumped into the crater to help track victims when they escaped being taken by the capture. The attack stalled. For hours, the Federals continued to nearby works. The crater was full to suffocation. Every organization melted away into a mass of human beings, plagued by tumbles and hails to the almost perpendicular sides. A man was shot on the crest. He fell and rolled to the bottom of the pit. Major William Powell, USA. 15,000 Federals would hold the crater and the surrounding works for more than 8 hours. By battle's end, nearly 4,000 would be killed, wounded, or captured.
It was utmost consternation. Some men scampered out of the lines. Some, paralyzed with fear, vaguely scratched the counterscarp as if trying to escape. Smoke and dust filled the air. At 4:40 a.m. on July 30th, 1864, the men of Captain Richard Pegram's battery and 2 South Carolina regiments lie sleeping here at Elliott's Salient. A moment later, this place turned into a smoking hole, 170 feet long, 80 feet wide, and 30 feet deep. 278 Confederates died in the blast. 2 1,700-pound cannons were hurled completely out of the works. The depressions of 4 of the magazines, exploded by Colonel Pleasant's men, are still visible inside the crater. Since the 1860s, the crater has been a popular spot for tourists. This photo was taken in 1867. Note the skull at the bottom of the picture. Confederate countermine. Suspecting a Union mine, the Confederates dug 2 listening galleries here. They narrowly missed striking the Union tunnel, which was deeper. The depressions you see were caused by the cave-in of these galleries. Right there, and right there.
The Confederacy faced disaster here on the morning of July 30th, 1864. Then, at 9 a.m., William Mahone's Confederate division arrived. Before all of his brigades had even formed, 5 of Mahone's Virginia regiments, 800 men, swept out of the ravine to your right and across shell-torn fields toward the crater. I shall never forget the magnificent appearance of that long line of tattered uniforms as it swept across the field in the face of a tremendous fire that with every step was thinning our ranks. I kept on until we got within 5 feet of the ditch where the Federals lay. It was literally filled with them, crouching in every conceivable position with their palms raised, crying for quarter. Richard Davis, 12th Virginia Infantry. Bullets and mortar shells tore into the packed mass of Federals. Few of the Confederates had ever fought black troops before, and the sight of armed black men enraged many Southerners. The Yankees were piled 2 or 3 or 4 deep. Few of our men were wounded by Negroes, which exasperated them very much. As soon as we got upon them, they threw down their arms to surrender, but were not allowed to do so. Every bomb-proof I saw had 2 or 3 dead Negroes in it, who had been found and killed by our men. Lieutenant Colonel Willie Pegram, Virginia Artillery. Fearing the result should they be captured with the black troops, even white Union troops turned their guns on their black comrades. The crater and the works around it, said one Federal, turned into one seething cauldron of struggling, dying men.
Okay, now I'm over in the section where the federal mine was created. There it is down there. I'll be there in a minute. And there's where the crater was exploded. Ventilation shaft. Regular Army wiseacres said it was not feasible, that I could not carry the ventilation that distance without digging a hole to the surface. But I have succeeded. The most serious problem that faced Lieutenant Colonel Pleasance was getting fresh air to the men working in the tunnel. He came up with a solution commonly used in the Pennsylvania coal mines. 100 feet into the mine, which is about where we are now, Pleasant's men dug a vertical ventilation shaft right there. They then placed an airtight canvas door across the mine opening and ran a wooden duct the length of the mine to the forward end of the chamber. The fire that burned continuously in the ventilation shaft drew stale air out of the mine. Fresh air was drawn through the duct to the men working at the end of the tunnel. Pretty cool. There's the duct. And here's the scale drawing of the 511-foot tunnel. There's the ventilation shaft. And there are the Confederate works. And there are the men digging under them. Once beneath the Confederate works, the Federals dug lateral magazines, which they packed with 8,000 pounds of gunpowder. All right, here's the entrance to the mine shaft.
And this is a whole bunch of guys
And
concrete.
There's a painting at the end
It's not
of
real
a Union
life.
soldier.
Can't really see. Hey, it goes from back to here.
You see him?
Yeah. I can't really see.
There he is. Digging the mine.
Few military men believed the Pennsylvanians could do it, and certainly the military men did little to help. They sent neither tools nor timber, and delivered substandard fuses and 4,000 pounds less powder than Colonel Pleasance had requested. Still, the coal miners of the 48th Pennsylvania toiled round the clock. Using only cracker boxes, they hauled 18,000 cubic feet of dirt out of the mine and carried this to the other side to be available. After a long, dangerous, exacting work, the mine was finished. 4 tons of gunpowder were planted directly under the Confederate battery. At 3:15 on the morning of July 30th, Colonel Pleasance and 2 other men disappeared into the mine entrance to light the fuse. Moments later, they reappeared and waited for 10, 20, 30 minutes. Nothing happened. The fuse had failed. At 4:30 a.m., 2 of Pleasant's soldiers re-entered the mine. They respliced the fuse, lit it, and dashed out. When they emerged, they told Pleasance, "It's all right, Colonel. She's burning." Thousands waited. Then, 10 minutes later, they felt the ground shake and heard a dull roar. "There she goes!" someone yelled. The Pennsylvanians' mine worked exactly as designed. For the Federals, it would be one of the few aspects of their plan to work that day.